name's Katherine Metcalf. I'm a visual artist here in Dallas, Texas. I would say Instagram is how I got started in art. In general, I've always loved art and been attracted to artists, but it wasn't until I started actually searching for hashtags. I started to be very attracted to a particular style of art that I later found out was called acrylic pouring, which is one of the things that I do a lot myself now, and that spilled over into watercolor and alcohol ink, so basically a lot of your fluid mediums. I'm a born and raised Texan. I grew up in East Texas in a place called Palestine, if anyone knows where that's at. I moved to Austin in 2009 to go to UT and lived there for about 7 years after that, and I've been in Dallas for the last 3 years. I have been pleasantly surprised by the art scene in Dallas. When I lived in Austin, which is known for culture and for art, I had some friends who were a little bit worried about me when I said I was going to be moving to Dallas. But since I've gotten here, Dallas is really, I would say, underrated for its art scene. There are so many amazing galleries, so many boutique galleries, even the one that I'm sitting in, for example. And there are a lot of really great local artists, and there are people that are traveling just to come to Dallas and be shown in these art galleries. I think it's one of those things that I feel like don't underestimate Dallas's art scene. There's so much more to it than I think that I knew coming into it, being on the outside. I don't know that I'm sure that I have a style. Let me back up. I'm sure that I have a style at this point. When I'm working on something or trying a new medium, or maybe I'm just pouring just like I always have, in the moment it doesn't feel like I have my own style, but I'm at a place where I know when I'm looking at other artists' work, or if I'm just scrolling through Pinterest on other acrylic pours, I feel like I can pick out where I'm like, oh, this looks like so-and-so's work. So I know that I probably have one at this point, I just can't identify it myself, and I honestly feel like that's part of being an artist, is not being able to objectively identify your own style. It's interesting to ask myself what obstacles I've faced, because truly, I remember the day that I decided that I'm gonna try acrylic pouring. I'm gonna try the fluid medium that I see some of these, I don't wanna call them heroes, but my inspirations on Instagram. I went to Michael's, I bought all the supplies that I thought I needed, which of course ended up being 2 more trips to Home Depot later. But I literally was listening to I'm So Excited by the Pointer Sisters, because I really was so excited. If I ran into an obstacle, it's not because I knew that I was facing it, it was more so I was enjoying the moment of going through the process and then realizing I did not pick the right paper, this is not the right pouring medium. I don't feel like I face an obstacle like, can I do this? I faced obstacles in the sense that I was so ready to do it that it became trial and error of just understanding how it needs to be done. So just not knowing what I didn't know, that was the obstacle. That was the only obstacle, really. There are a few moments that stick out to me in my career as an artist so far. First of all, I have a very good friend who first encouraged me to start a separate Instagram handle for my art. And it was kind of at that point that I was like, I guess my personal page had been taken over with my art at that point. And just the fact that somebody said, like, you should try this. It doesn't have to be high pressure or anything like that, but you never know. And she was right. Within about a month of me starting my own separate handle just for my art, I was pleasantly surprised by, first of all, positive feedback from random strangers on Instagram, but I was also invited to do my first show. And I did that in Dallas about, I would say, 2 or 3 months after I started my first Instagram handle, and I'm still friends with people that I met at that show. In fact, the girl that was on the opposite side of there's a fence where you put your art on either side of the fence, I still follow her and I'm still friends with her. So I feel like I've been very fortunate that I've had pretty much nothing but really good experiences with meeting people. And I wonder sometimes if that has to do with the fact that my full-time job is not being an artist. And honestly, that takes a lot of pressure off of me. I do have the luxury of thinking more about what feels good or feels right when I'm doing my art, as opposed to what is it that people are going to want to see or want to buy. Like, I don't have the same pressure that a lot of other artists I feel like might have. For all I know, that doesn't play into their art, but I can see myself easily getting bogged down with the perception and what people want to see if this were not something that I went into as this is fun, this is a hobby, this is let me just explore this. So it might be the attitude going into it that really makes a difference. Honestly, I have found that being commissioned for work is one of the most stressful things, being an artist. I've honestly almost gotten to a point where I make art, and if someone wants to buy it, great. If they don't, okay too, that's fine. I'm better for the experience. Being commissioned for artwork is one of the most stressful things, because I feel like you think to yourself, are they going to like this? Like, they just gave me all of this artistic freedom. Is this what they want? And at that point, you have to remind yourself that person would not have commissioned you unless they knew who you were and saw your work and knew what your process was. And I latch onto that, and there's no turning back. You can actually lose what it is that makes you an artist when you focus too much on, is this what my client wants? Does this look like the inspiration that they sent to me? Because I don't know how other artists do it, but oftentimes here's the most that my clients get when they commission me for work is, what's the color palette? Give me 2 or 3 examples of kind of what you have in mind. And then and then I just let them know up front, there's a good chance what I make for you looks nothing like that. Are you okay with that? I just have to set that expectation up front, because you never know how your work is going to turn out in the middle of it. You shouldn't know how your work is going to turn out in the middle of it. One of the areas that I struggle the most with when pricing my work is the fact that this is a hobby for me. This is not something that I do as my full-time job. And for some reason I struggle with, it's almost like I devalue my own work just from the one point that this is not my full-time career. I would say that I struggle in that respect, but one of the ways I've tried to overcome that is just reading articles or getting advice from other artists on how they price their work in terms of the materials, the time that you put into it. And then again, there's that struggle of, if I'm doing the work that I want to be doing, I really can't take into account the time that it takes me to do it. That's part of hiring me as an artist, is I'm going to spend the time that I think is necessary to complete a piece. A few pieces of advice for artists. I would say when you're first starting out, it is so okay not to know what your style is going to be or what medium that you're going to like. I don't understand people who get paralyzed in art by, they don't start something because they're not sure where they're going. Like, none of us know where we're going. I don't, and I'm fine with that. It's worked out okay for me. So number one, you don't need to know what your style is or where you're going when you first start out. The second piece of advice that I would give to people is, if someone says that they like your work and they want to support you, say thank you and let them do that. There's no point in saying I just do this part-time or I'm only starting out. If someone likes your work, don't discount the joy that they're getting from your work. They like it, so maybe you're not where you want to be entirely, but you'll get there, and along the way, just take it as it comes. It is what it is. The third thing that I would say is that get to know other artists. First of all, it's really fun. Secondly, you never know what sort of doors or opportunities it's going to open up for you. So on social media, I feel like I have met so many artists that I have later come to meet in real life. And first of all, no one has murdered me, and it has been just as great as I thought it would be in real life as it was on Instagram. But it's fun to collaborate with people and be open to that, because it's without interacting with people, whether that's through social media or in real life, you're kind of relying on the outside world to get your work out there and do something for you. And I'm here to tell you that you want to be in control of your exposure and where you're going and what you're doing with this. So if you want to be someone who presents in shows, like start talking to people that you've seen in shows. Like I promise you, they're probably going to be friendly. Like it's gonna be okay if you just walk up to them awkwardly and say, "I've seen you on Instagram. Here I am in real life. I did it last night. It was fine." All I would say is that trying art, first of all, everybody is an artist. I hate it when I hear someone tell me, I'm not artistic, I'm not an artist. Like, yes, you probably are. Have you tried it? Let's just see what you can do. That's the first thing I would say. The second thing is that, like, art to me is one of the safest places to try to be yourself. Like, more than likely 90% of the people that you run into are going to appreciate that you're just trying to be authentic. Even if what you come up with isn't, earth-shattering, that's fine, like that's okay. The point is that you're trying and I think that most people value authenticity over skill set or talent than anything else. So I would not let that stop you from trying to do it, because chances are you're kind of in a safe space anytime you're interacting with another artist. That would be the number one thing that I would want to communicate to people. Be yourself. That's all there is. I'm mostly on Instagram. That's probably how most people know me. So artist Katherine Metcalf is my handle. I will also be I'll be featured in one of the Raw showcases in New York, Brooklyn, New York, on December 11th.